Hello, everybody. My name is Diana. I'm a biomedical engineer and web accessibility expert. And this is a Tottillo webinar about accessibility and UX design and how we can use the techniques to make your site more attractive for users and more understandable. So I prepared a small presentation for you. First, I will tell you a little bit about accessibility and what is user experience. And then I will show on the example. I will use some site to show you how you can change in order to make it better. So I will share with you presentation. I hope it will work. Yes, it's here. So I'll just make it, uh, yeah, sorry, just a little bit of preparation. So this is my presentation about accessibility. Just a little bit of information about me. I'm Diana, just like I mentioned, and I'm an engineer with a master diploma in biomedical engineering, and I worked for 6 years as web developer. And during last 2 years, I work on applying accessibility guidelines to the sites. I have a degree, I have a diploma from Access 42, the school, and I work during last 8 years in France and try to apply to French sites and for French clients. And yeah, so here is me, and I love providing open source projects and the webinars presentations. I also work as the tutor for adults and children about coding, about how to create your projects, whether web development or e-health correlated projects. So yeah, I have a big experience about technical education. And so I will help you to understand what exactly user experience is and what is accessibility. So, yes, what is web accessibility? It's actually, we can compare it with the physical world. So there are some panduses that help people with disabilities on the wheelchair to get inside the building or um, go from one point to another. So accessibility is the same thing, and it helps in the digital world. It's like a panus of digital world, and it helps people not just with disabilities, but actually everybody. And I will explain how it is. So there are people who have problem with um, visual part, like they have problem concentrating on the text, or they have color blindness, for example, or they can have some other people, they can have problem with hearing information or with motor disabilities, cognitive disabilities, ADHD, or autism. And for such people, the information, like for example, if you have a slider where there is a blanking information. So if it's too fast, it might make the head turn and provide some effects to some people. So you should be careful about these or specific colors. Some people, there are a lot of people with color blindness and they cannot see the information the way we see it. So they see it in a different way. And the colors they're losing, they're changing. I will show you on the example how it looks. So you can see it from the perspective of a person with disabilities. But if you write, for example, press the red button, for them it might not be red. And it's important to provide good instructions and good description for whatever button you have, for whatever text you have. There are also people with tunnel vision. So, for example, like even the sentence that I have on this slide, like insurance websites and technologies are designed so that people with disabilities can use them. It's too much wide. It's better to concentrate on the just to separate the text into columns. Like this, it's easier to read and concentrate the attention on the information. But we also know that there are more than 60 millions of people just in Europe who are older than 65 years, and every fourth, actually in France, every fourth person is older than 65 years. So these people, just like we are all getting old, and there are already a lot of old people who have problem concentrating because their brain, it gets tired faster than our brain, or the eyes, they become irritated with when they look at the screen. So we need to code for us in the future and for people who are already old, to just be um, to keep up with such physical changes, and to make it easy to get information about our product, about our service, for people of all generations and all the abilities. And the last thing that I could mention is that there are people with temporary disabilities. Like, for example, if you break an arm, like especially if it's your working arm, like right one or left one, according to which one you use, you might not be able to use the mouse, so you will need to use the keyboard. And some sites, they are not accessible through via keyboard. Um, and situational limitations. The example that I can use is, for example, to read under the sun. We all can go out, and if the brightness of the site is not good enough, then the people will not see it. And it also can be that the site can be just in one language. If you are on the Google Chrome, then they automatically can suggest a translation to the language that you use. But if you use another browser, it might not be automatic and you might not understand. So it's always good to provide the site in as many languages as possible so that everybody understands it, and there are no such problems, so that you don't lose the client, you don't lose a user, and you stay accessible and up to time and up to guidelines and needed changes. This is just a small map about how it looks, people with disabilities worldwide. And like literally it's 20% of people with severe disabilities. I will show closely on this slide. So here the numbers, we have like around 10 people worldwide, 10% of people worldwide, they have color blindness. And a huge amount of people, they have cognitive disabilities such as ADHD, motor disabilities, it's around 3-5%. And like there is a huge amount of people with visual disabilities worldwide. But it's important to remember that numbers, it's not just about numbers, it's about people, and it's about how much really, like the companies, they all understand the language of money, unfortunately, but it's a part of the business. And it's known that people, according to the statistics, companies, they lose trillions of dollars because they are not accessible for all these people that I mentioned before, including us. We can be in such situation at any day, any moment. So we need to think about this, and that's why it's about user experience, user understanding of information that you provide. It's all connected. Now I will go to some sites to show you how exactly it changes according to disability, the way to see you see the site. So I will just stop sharing. Okay, I will go to this. Um, oh, I'll go to this page. Just a second. So for example, this is the site of my project. This is Tottillo, and that's how the site look. I will show you first how it looks without any changes. And so it's like white, black. Of course, I was working a lot on its accessibility so that all the elements are accessible, and that it looks good, it's readable. I avoided too much of the colors because combination of colors, they might not be accessible. It's the best, it's like black and white, but of course it's boring, so we need to bring some elements to make it attractive. So now I will show how the site look like if we use the extension um, web disability simulator. Like for example, here I will show total color blindness, how it looks like. So it becomes completely black and white with some gray color, some gray parts. That's how people look. So in case if you write in the description, okay, like read the red text, this will not be read for them. Now you can see it clearly with this extension. Okay, and I now will show yellow-blue color blindness. So you can see that people with lowered color vision, they have difficulty distinguishing some or all colors. And in this case, this specific color blindness, it's tritanopia, and it's quite rare. But it means that blue with green is so blue become green and yellow become purple when they look at the images and the colors. Yeah, just like here the green, I see that it became black, so it completely changes the way people see your site. And it's important to think about this because it influences user experience. That's how it looks here. This is for pratanopia. It's red-green color blindness. That's how people with this disease, they see the side. That's how it changes. Okay, now we move to tunnel vision. This is quite interesting because that's what I was telling you. So it's much harder for them to read white text. So you need to think about this, and you need to in order to make it accessible and readable, you need to use columns of the text instead of, well, avoiding wide, full width text. And this is quite interesting, like sunshine. So if we go out, that's how the site will look like. And I can see that there are still some problems, like the text is a little bit, well, not so much readable. When there is a bold, there are bold characters, so it's much easier. Sorry. And it's the text should be bigger. In general, the text should be, the font should be bigger, the size of it. And yes, that's how it looks. And this is the far-sightedness. So that's how it looks. And for this purpose, it's also important that the text is as big as possible. Like, for example, we can still read design for all, code for health, make a change. But later, like, okay, I can read what is Tottillo, but the text, what it is, I already cannot read. And this is hyperopia. This is the most common visual impairment, and this is important information because that's the type which you need to keep in mind when you think about visual disability. And people with this disease, they have difficulty focusing on objects at close range, so this makes them appear blurry, the objects. Okay, now we'll show quite interesting, I mean, of course, this is bad disease, but quite interesting way of simulation. So this is the Parkinson disease. You can see that the focus is moving very, very fast, and it's impossible to put it, like, if I want to click on the button, it will take time just to put, like, because it's changing, it's jumping. So it destroys the cells in the brain that produce dopamine, which causes the brain to have a reduced ability to send signals. And people with such disease, they might suffer from symptoms such as shaking, trembling, stiff muscles, and reduced mobility. So we need to think about making the buttons as big as possible. This is not just better for everybody because like when we're on the phone, sometimes we're scrolling and it's hard to press the button because it's so small. And we might press by default on something else. This is very irritating for user experience. So it's not just for people with disabilities, it's also for everybody. And if the button is bigger, so it's easier to click, it's much more visual, and it for sure improves user experience with your site. Okay, now I will show how dyslexia look, how for people with dyslexia your site will look. So you can see that all the text, the words, they're changing non-stop, so it's very hard to read and concentrate. Um, it actually, dyslexia is a disability that makes it difficult for the brain to automate the interpretation of words. So it's hard to read and write, and it has no connection with vision or intelligence. So it's important to remember. And what we need to do, how we can help people with dyslexia, we need to avoid text in small font sizes and long texts, avoid difficult words and terms, and offer to read text, images, video, and audio alternatives so that it's better, like golden rule for accessibility and user experience is no matter which information you provide, try to do it in several ways. So if you have text, so you provide just visual information, try to also provide it in a listening way, like so that people they can hear it. Because some people they have no problem, no disabilities, but they have problem understanding the written text. So for such people, it's going to be important to hear all the text that we can read. That's how it works. And I will also show for people with the concentration problems, that's how the site will look. So these are the changes, and uh, it's for people with such disabilities like ADHD, autism. So it can cause difficulty in handling impressions, sorting information, and sensitivity to sound. um, this provides a big problem for them to learn, to read, and we need to provide the design a simple and clean design. The website should be understandable for everybody, and we should be careful with animations and strong colors. That's why mostly I have black, white, and a little bit of green with a little bit of gray. We need to avoid too much content on the same page. So it's better to have smaller page but more concentrated. And we need to offer image, audio, and video alternative to text content. Just like what I said, the golden rule is to provide information in at least two types, like visual information should be represented through the sound, and opposite, like if you have a video, you should have the text, the transcription, or you should have some other alternative for it. Okay, and now I will try to show you the site, so how you can check whether you have problems or everything is normal. So I will use another extension, Accessibility Insights for Web. That's what I use for in order to provide audits and to check the accessibility of sites. So for example, the color. This is the part of the audit for web accessibility experts. That's what we already saw. So we just test the color by making the site um, for colorblind person so that it becomes black and white. We already saw it. That's how it looks. And here on my side, there are no things that uh, cannot be understood if we take away the colors and we just leave black and white. But for example, the headings, it's important to have a nice like the right structure, the right heading structure for the site, because the screen readers, for people who are blind, they use the screen reader, the device that make all the information from the side be read, and the screen reader understand what is the structure. It's like in the book, we have the book with some parts, and by understanding how what is the part, what is the structure of the book, we understand how we're moving inside the book, what are the changes, what are the parts, and here is the same. So for the screen reader, it's important to see the clear structure, and should have at least one, it should have one H1 and at least several headings except H1. So here we can see that we have H1 level Tottillo, then we have several H2, and then we go lower to H3 with several H4. It's important to remember that the style also should be the same, so that when we see the book, we don't have like I don't know, that the first part is, the name of the first part is written bold, then the second part is much smaller and it's written with italic, and another color. Like, it makes us confused, like, is it another part or it's subcategory, like what it is. So it should have the same logic on the side. So all the headings of the same size should have the same font, the same size, the same color, the same style. Sometimes the color might a little change. Like, as I work and practically, I see that it's important, because sometimes we have another background for this part, so we cannot keep the color. Like, for example, here I have for H3, instead of black, I have on the green background white font in order to make it accessible. This is important. So it can a little bit change according to the background, but the style, the font, the size, it should stay the same. So that's what we see, H3. Then we have smaller ones for subsections, like become completely inclusive. That's H4, and it has all the same style. Then we have H3 with programming offers, and frequently asked questions. So that's how it looks. This is the heading, and it's also important for user experience of how they understand what's located on your site. Now I will move to, for example, landmarks. So we see that there is a banner on the top. This is the part that also, that's how the device for people with disabilities will see your site. So it's important to have, for example, everything should be inside the main part, and there should be one main part coded. So we have a banner, navigation, then we have the main part, and everything should be inside. We will see if everything is inside. Yes, it seems like all the information is inside the main part, and then there is a footer with the content information and the card, the map. So that's how it looks. And now we'll show the, for example, accessible names. This is quite interesting. That's also how, like, accessible names, it's important to understand it's not just for some devices. It's also important for people like you and me, like for people who don't have severe disabilities. Because when there is a problem with the internet, sometimes we see that the image is not downloaded, and instead of the image, we will see alternative text, the accessible name of the image. So it's important to see that it's coded, in case if there is no internet and it's not uploaded, right? Each element should have its accessible name. So here we can see that I have accessible name for the logo of Tottillo with an image of turtle. That's the symbol of my project, and design for all, code for health, make a change. So we can see up also should have every single thing, the element of um, your site should have accessible name. And here we see how it looks, the accessible name of the site. For example, you can see that these images that I have, it doesn't have accessible name. And you might ask questions why. Like, for example, there was a banner, there was no accessible name for the banner, and for these images, like assessment report. This is the example of the report for accessibility of the site. I have an answer why. So we have elements that are uh, like, for example, the images. We have image elements, decorative and meaningful. Meaningful means that when you take it away from the site, there will be some lost information. Like, for example, if we have the product represented on the site, if we take away the photo of the product, people will not understand how the product will look. So it's important information. It contains unique information that is important for this site. And in this case, it should have accessible name. But if we have just an image like the nature, like for example, in the beginning, I have a picture with the plants, which I digitalize. So it just interactive way to present the information, but it doesn't contain unique information that will affect the site if it goes away. So in this case, the banner, it just has decorative role and it doesn't have accessible name. And it's the same for the images because I just represent how as an example, how it might look, but it's not something unique because the report can look in another way, like, or for example, the page with open source projects that I present, it's also can be different. I can show projects another way. I can just open and show one project, or another site with my projects. Or when we're talking um, about social media, like here, LinkedIn page. So I can represent it on the Instagram, show on Instagram or Facebook. So it's just an example and it doesn't need to have accessible name, this one. But all other elements, they should have accessible name. So that's how it looks. So here, yeah, I tried to show how it looks, the site, with the eyes of user experience expert and web accessibility expert, and how you can apply the rules of web accessibility and web accessibility guidelines, WCAG, to your site. So I hope it was interesting experience for you, and please let me know if you want to check your site or you want to see what should be changed there in order to improve user experience and increase the level of accessibility of all your elements on the site. Thank you for joining my webinar. Bye.